Thank you for coming to this video of mine, this YouTube site. I want to talk to you as renters today and talk to you about the benefits of owning real estate, owning a house of your own. I call this presentation the 4 kinds of renters who should be buyers. And there are 5 kinds of renters we're going to look at. But 4 of those 5 can actually buy a house. 4 kinds of renters who should be buyers. There are generally 5 kinds of people who are renting. They are people with no money to put down, but you got good credit, or at least good enough to get a loan. It's hard to buy a house when you don't have any money. At least that's the conventional thinking. That's not accurate, however, and I hope to show you that. The people who have money for a down payment, but don't have good enough credit. There again, you think you can't buy a house, but you might be able to. The people who do not have any money to speak of for a down payment, and they don't have good enough credit to buy a house or get a loan. The last 2 kinds of renters are generically short-term and long-term tenants. Short-term tenants and long-term tenants. I'll take a look at each one of those categories a little later on in the program. Why are renters losing out? Why should you buy instead of rent? What are the benefits of owning a house and the detriments of being a tenant? That's what I want to talk to you about today. So let's consider a 4-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms and a single garage. In Great Falls today, that house will rent for about $1,200 per month, plus utilities and deposit. That is also roughly a $150,000 house. We're going to analyze this over 10 years. What will that house do in 10 years? What will you as a homeowner benefit from owning that house in 10 years? What will you as a tenant be looking at over a 10-year analysis if you were to stay in that house? What is property going to be worth in 10 years? Nobody has a crystal ball, but we can do some guessing. That house at $150,000 right now, allowing for a 5% increase per year compounded annually, which is a very conservative increase. It should actually be more. But let's be conservative and allow for a 5% increase per year over 10 years. What will that $150,000 house be worth? The answer is $244,300. And there's some nice websites that can calculate this for you. So that $150,000 house that you can rent for $1,200 a month today, in 10 years should be worth about $244,000. That gain in value ends up at $244,300. You started out at $150,000. That really means that in 10 years that house has increased $94,000. That does not include anything for how much loan you've paid down or anything like that, or any improvements you put into it. This just assumes that $150,000 house with normal maintenance increases in value to a certain amount over 10 years. That is about $9,400 per year in increased value. Now let's consider renting that property. We're going to put $1,200 per month, starting out. Now we all know that rents are going to increase over time. Let's allow for a 10% per year increase, which is not out of line. If you look at the Great Falls market, you will see rents are doing that or more right now. Again, looking at 10 years, the total rent payments, this is calculated by taking 12 months of $1,200 per month plus 12 months of a 10% increase of $1,200 per month, and so on and so on. The total rental payments that you will have paid over 10 years is $229,500. Now let's consider ownership. Let's analyze this house if you were to be an owner in that. Let's start out with a house payment of roughly $1,000 per month. That is below what it would cost you to rent this house. That is kind of atypical, but it is a reality in today's market rate. A large part of that reason is because the interest rates are so low right now. Typically, the rates are higher than this. Typically, you can rent a house for about what you can buy it, but not today. You have a really good advantage in the market right now so that you can own a house normally for less than you would pay to rent that same house. Loan payments don't increase except for taxes and insurance. So unlike rent, it will not go up. Your principal and interest payment on a normal loan will stay the same. The only increase it will have is due to taxes and insurance going up over time. Again, let's look at this for 10 years. Our total loan payments are $1,000 per month times 12 months times 10 years, and as I said, it will not change other than taxes and insurance. The loan itself will not change. If you were to own this house over 10 years, you will have paid $120,000 in payments. $120,000 over 10 years at $1,000 a month. This is a chart showing a rent versus ownership analysis. The property value increase, if you were to rent the property, there's no value. You don't own it, so there's nothing there. After 10 years of payments, you will have paid out $229,500. If you were to own this property, over the 10 years, it will have increased $94,000. And you will have paid out roughly $120,000 in house payments. The difference is, over 10 years, as an owner, the property would have increased $94,300. Plus, as an owner, you would have paid $109,000 less than a tenant. That is the biggest reason for home ownership. It's going to cost you a whole heck of a lot less to own it than to rent it. Let's look at this another way. As a renter, you are going to be paying $1,200 per month to rent this property. There is no increase in value as far as you're concerned because it doesn't benefit you. So your net monthly cost is about $1,200 per month. As an owner, you are going to pay around $1,000 per month. Earlier in the presentation, I showed you how over a 10-year period, that house will increase approximately $94,300 per 10 years, which is $9,430 per year on average, or $786 per month on average. That means your net cost of owning this property, instead of $1,000 per month, when you factor out the $786 worth of increase in value, you are actually paying $214 per month. But it gets better. As an owner, you're allowed to deduct on your tax return taxes and insurance payments. For a $150,000 house, that figure will be in the neighborhood of $2,400 to $2,500 per year, which amazingly is about $214 per month. Put another way, when you factor in all the benefits of home ownership, you're living there for free. What you're paying, you're going to get back in income and investment benefits over that 10-year period. It's going to increase in value enough so that you're going to be living there, bottom line net income for free after that 10-year time frame. Obviously, you're paying out of pocket $1,000 per month right now, but look at that benefit. You're going to own this house and live in it, and at some point in time sell it and get your money back. That's pretty darn good. When we started out, I said there were 5 types of renters. I'm going to look at 3 of those right now. The no money but good credit, the no credit but I have money, and the tenant who has neither, no money and poor credit. Let's look at each one of those individually. I don't have any money for a down payment, but my credit is good. Typically, you need a 620 score or better. There are loan programs out there that you can get in for less. I'm aware of one that's right around 585. But let's aim for 620. You need good credit to get a loan. But you don't necessarily need money. There are ways people can buy a house without you having a lot of money. So if you are one of these people with no money but good credit, no problem. You can buy a house if you want to. Talk to me. I'll show you how. Now let's look at the people who have money but their credit's not quite good enough. You have the down payment or even more, but your credit isn't good enough to get a loan. Again, it's harder to do, but it's not out of line. You can buy a house if you want to. It might be structured a little differently than a traditional purchase, but it can be done. I have sold houses to people who could not get a bank loan. It's very easy to do. Not every house will work, but it can be done. Talk to me if you're in this situation. The third kind of tenant that I mentioned is the one with no money and poor credit. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen at this time. You may want to buy a house, but you either need to save some more money or fix your credit. There are ways to fix credit that are not that difficult to do. Again, if this is something you need to do, come talk to me. I'll see what we can do. The money is the easy part. The credit is the harder one. So let's fix your credit and then get you that house. Talking about the last 2 kinds of tenants, short-term tenants, you're only going to be here for 1 year or maybe less, or 2 years, or just 3 years. Why should you buy a house if you're going to only be here for 3 years or less? And the answer is quite simply because it helps you out. Why not start your retirement now? I have sold houses to people in the military who will buy a house in each location they are transferred to. After 20 years, they will have 20 houses. Well, not 20, but they will have, let's say, 10 houses. Then they start selling them, 1 per year, starting with the first house they purchased. That's the house that will have increased in value the most and had the biggest equity gain. Build a retirement by using real estate. I have a video in this series that you can look at that will show you how to do it. Short-term renters, buy the house. It will help you much, much more as an owner than it will as a tenant. Then there are the long-term tenants. As a landlord, I want to thank you because you are paying my mortgage. But why are you paying my mortgage or anyone else's mortgage? Pay your own. You need to own a house. The benefit of being a long-term renter is if something goes wrong with the house, you just call the property manager or landlord. You spent $100,000 or more over 10 years, more than a homeowner would for that privilege. Is it worth it? Now, can you buy a house? Here are the rules for buying a house. There are income ratios. And those numbers are 29% and 41%. What that means is take your gross family income times 29%. That's what your house payment can be. I round 29% up to 30. So, for example, if your family income is $3,000 per month times 30%, you can afford $900 per month as your house payment. Now remember, this $3,000 is before taxes, not what you take home, before taxes. The 41% is the same analysis, only using not just your house payment, but your car payment, your boat payment, and any other typical payments like that. You can afford 41% of your gross family income on all debts. Reminder, this is on gross income, not your net income. Typically, you need a 620 credit score or better. As I said earlier, that's not always the case, but that's where you're going to aim. Furthermore, as you know, there are 3 credit reporting bureaus. You want the middle one to be 620. It's great if the other one is higher. It will have to be. And one of them may be lower. But the lenders typically will look at the middle score if one is too low. When you start looking at houses, you are going to consider 4 types of loan programs. The first one is available to virtually anyone. It is an FHA loan. It is government subsidized, government backed. If you are a military veteran, you can get a VA loan. That is a VA, Veterans Administration loan program. Conventional loans are available generally to anyone as well. If you cannot get an FHA loan, a VA loan, or a conventional loan, the only other way to buy a house is with owner financing. Not easy to do, but it can be done, and there are many ways to do that. Down payments for an FHA loan, you are looking at 3.5% of the purchase price. When you factor in all the other costs, it's probably closer to 5%. So figure 5% in your head. A VA is 0 down. That's a benefit for using a Veterans Administration loan if you qualify. Conventional loans are typically 5% down. And owner financing can be whatever works out for you and that particular owner. So on a $100,000 house, on an FHA loan, you'll need about $3,500 down plus additional costs, so figure about $5,000 down. On a conventional loan, you'll also figure about $5,000 down. For owner financing, you may need more, and this is the one that's available for the person who has money but not a lot of credit yet. Now, does this interest you? Is this something that you would consider doing? Would you like to buy and own your own house? Call me. I can't help you unless you let me help you. Call me. Also, visit some of the other YouTube sites I have up. They can explain a little more in detail how I work, for example, and some other benefits of home ownership. Speaking of how I work, let me tell you about that. I'm a buyer's broker. I want to help you as a renter buy a house. Typically, I will not list a house, except for Fannie Mae listings and for my own properties. I want to help you buy a house. To do that, I need to work on your behalf. Please call, text, or email me. This is my work phone number, 727-8222. This is my cell number, 799-2030, 799-2030. I can receive texts on that message phone as well. This is my email address, goodover@centric.net. Note it's .net, not .com. This is my real estate firm, Professional Brokers of Great Falls. Thank you for watching this video presentation. I look forward to the day when I can help you, the home buyer, in your next home purchase.